Good morning, students. After the development of embryo, dicot embryo and monocot embryo, the characters of dicot embryo and monocot embryo, various parts in the dicot embryo and monocot embryo, we have to enter into seed. So, what is a seed? The final product of fertilization is called seed. So, seed is the final product of fertilization, or it is considered as fertilized ovule. So, what is seed? Seed is nothing but it is the final product of fertilization, or a seed is considered as fertilized ovule, or a seed is considered as ripened ovule. Product of fertilization. What is fertilization? We have seen. So the end products of fertilizations are generally seeds which are present inside the fruits, fruit and seed. Why ovule develops into seed, ovary develops into fruit. So ovule after fertilization becomes seed. So fertilized ovule is called seed, or when ovule is said to be ripened, ripened means mature completely, then this is nothing but a ripened ovule is called seed. So in seed or in a seed, generally what are the structures present? In a seed, the structures, the parts, the structures or parts present are first one, seed coat. Seed coat. This seed coat is outer and inner So there are two coats, you can call them two coats, outer coat and inner. Outer coat is because of outer integument, inner integument. Outer coat is called testa, inner coat is called tegmen. Testa and tegmen. They were protecting layers. Seed coats, protection. Next part present in the seed, cotyledons. Generally in a dicot, two cotyledons are there. In a monocot, one cotyledon. What are these cotyledons? These are thick, swollen, fleshy structures that stores food materials. So cotyledons in a seed are fleshy structures. They had food material. What is this food material? This food material is utilized by the germinating seed at the time of seed germination into a seedling until it forms the first leaf. Until a seedling forms first leaf. First leaf means photosynthetic structure, photosynthetic organ. When a small seedling is going to form first leaf, until it forms first leaf, the embryonal axis, it takes food material from the swollen, thick, fleshy structures called cotyledons. Third structure in a seed, embryo axis or embryonal axis. We have seen in the previous class. So, embryonal axis is nothing but body of the seedling. So, this is called cotyledon. Before it is going to germinate, it is covered with seed coat. So, it consists of embryonal axis. This embryonal axis is called tigellum. Embryonal axis is called tigellum. For its growth, for its development, what is its growth and development? It has to develop into the deeper layers as radicle and root. It has to develop into the air as plumule, stem tip, until it produces first leaf, leaf primordium. So, as long as leaf primordium is not formed on the plumule, the food supplied to this is from cotyledons. So, cotyledons are the fleshy materials that supplies food. They may exist for some time after that. When the plant develops, they may fall off. Here, so in a seed, there are three structures are present. Now, what are the other structures that are present in a seed? Generally, in a seed, if endosperm is completely utilized, such seeds are called non-endospermic. Seeds. In a seed, generally, if endosperm is completely utilized, such seed is called a non-endospermic seed or non-albuminous or X-albuminous seed. So generally in every ovule at the time of fertilization, that is second double fertilization, triple fusion, endosperm tissue is present. It is compulsory in angiospermic plants. It is a characteristic feature of angiospermic plants. But in seeds, for its what zygote develops into embryo. For the development of zygote into embryo, the endosperm is supplying food material because it is a nutritive tissue. So goes on supplying it, it will be depleted, completely utilized. A seed having no endosperm is called non-endospermic seed, non-albuminous seed or X-albuminous seed. Examples of these they have given in page number 35 and 36 under the seed. Peas, groundnut, beans. So, memory based example oriented questions in NEET examination. One of the following is the example of non-endospermic seed, or they can give a group of plants. From that group of plants, you have to identify which are non-endospermic. How many numbers? 1, 2, 3. They may give all the 3, or they may give only 1 or 2, like that. So, seed generally, if endosperm is present, persistent endosperm, if endosperm is present. Second concept. In a seed, if some amount of endosperm or some part of endosperm endosperm is present, still present, so it is not completely utilized. Some amount is still present. Such a seed endospermic seed or albuminous seed in a seed, if some part of endosperm still persistent endosperm, here endospermic seeds So, wheat, maize, barley comes under cereals. Wheat, maize, barley. One of the following is not a cereal. Is a cereal? They can ask question. Castor, coconut, already they have mentioned. Coconut, nuclear, free nuclear endosperm and cellular endosperm both. Sunflower, endosperm, Cypsella fruit. Onion is also having endosperm. So, in these, how many numbers are there? 7 examples are cited in the book, directly or indirectly. So, in a seed, if some part of the endosperm is still present, such a seed is called endospermic seed or albuminous seed. Examples. Apart from this, endosperm, a seed in some plants consists of some amount of, in some seeds, some amount of, some part of nucellus is also present. This nucellus which is present is called persistent, means still present. This persistent nucellus, so if nucellus is present, it is called persistent. Or it may be utilized. It is definitely most of the, it is utilized. Why? Nucellus is a nutritive tissue like endosperm. It is supplying food material to the developing female gametophyte or embryo sac. By the time embryo sac is developed, it is utilized. By the time when the ovule is developing into seed, it is completely utilized. but sometimes some amount, some part of nucellus is also present still. Such a nucellus which is present, generally persistent means present. Extinct, finished, completed. Persistent nucellus is also called residual nucellus. Very less, some amount, some part, residual nucellus, or remains or remnants of nucellus. Remnants of. So some tissue, some amount of nucellus is still existing. Remnants of nucellus, residual in the form of small part, persistent nucellus. All these names comes under one common name. To this remains, remnants, residual, persistent, we have given the name perisperm. We have explained this in the previous class. What is perisperm? Perisperm, in some seeds, some part of the nucellus is still present. Perisperm. Perisperm is diploid in nature because nucellus is diploid. Examples of perisperm they have given in black pepper and beet plants, Beta vulgaris, are in some water lily plants. They have not mentioned this in the NCERT book, but in water lily plants are also perisperm is present. So in a seed, generally what are the structures present? Rarely what are the structures present? Neat question. In a seed, generally seed coat, cotyledons, again embryonal axis, endosperm may be present or absent. Rarely in a seed along with the endosperm, perisperm also present, or endosperm may be absent, perisperm may be present, or both endosperm and perisperm may be present. So in various forms there is a possibility of asking questions. Direct statement type of question, assertion reason type of question. So a seed. Now seed coat provides protection. On the seed coat there is a small opening called seed pore. What is this seed pore? Small opening. Which is nothing but micropyle. So once upon a time seed was ovule. In the ovule micropyle is there. Like that micropyle opening, when ovule becomes seed, it becomes seed pore. This seed pore is responsible for exchange of gases, or especially for supply of oxygen and for the supply of water during germination. So seed pore, this seed pore is clearly seen in seeds of chickpea. Here seed pore, chickpea or Bengal gram. Clearly, when a Bengal gram is soaked in water, after soaking in water, that Bengal gram increases in its size, bulge by imbibition process. by absorbing water. In this condition, we can clearly see the seed pod, small black hole. So, seed pod is responsible for the oxygen and water for germination. And as and when seed becoming mature, when the seed becoming mature, it means the zygote is becoming developed into embryo. Whatever water is present in that seed completely dries up. The water utilized and the seed becomes dries up. So relative moisture is 10 to 15%, they have given in the brackets in the NCERT book. So relatively moisture is 10 to 15% is considered as dryness, which leads to, and during this the metabolic activity of the embryo slows down. First point, metabolic activity. Why there is no water? Because of dry conditions. Metabolic activity of the embryo becomes slow down. Gradually, when the metabolic activity becomes slow, gradually the seed enters into a inactive stage. Gradually the seed enters into an inactive state. This inactive state is represented by dormancy, seed dormancy. Seed dormancy or dormancy of the seed. So dormancy means a state where metabolic activity slows down, no further proliferation or division because of no water, and seed will remain in this condition forever. We can store it in our gunny bags, we can store it in the shelf. And as and when, if favorable condition comes, or until favorable condition comes, seed is said to be in dormancy. Dormancy is nothing but inactive state where there is no metabolic activity because of no water. Dormancy. If favorable conditions arrives, are provided. So if we provide the favorable conditions, or if favorable condition arrives by the advent of the favorable conditions, what are those favorable conditions? The amount of moisture and the oxygen concentration, amount of oxygen, suitable temperatures, moisture. Most important memory based questions, tightly cut and paste question they may ask. What are the conditions which are responsible for the seed germination? Moisture, oxygen supply, and suitable temperatures. Suitable temperature. So there are three conditions. These three conditions are said to be favorable. Favorable means good. Helpful. If favorable conditions arrives, Or if favorable conditions are provided, what are those favorable conditions? Like moisture, suitable amount of oxygen, concentration, and suitable temperatures. If they were supplied, arrives a seed, a dormant seed can germinate. Seed germination is enhanced. A dormant seed germinates. So as long as these conditions are not arrive, not favorable, not comes, not appears to the seed, the seed is said to be in dormancy condition. They may ask, my dear students, so many questions in this paragraph. Possibility of creating questions. So, what is a seed? Seed is so and so fertilized ovule, ripened ovule, or after fertilization, ovule transforms into seed, whereas ovary transforms into fruit. Now, where this seed is present generally? Seeds are found inside fruits. Why seeds are present inside the fruits? Why seeds are present? Because we are discussing about angiosperms. In angiosperms, our pistil or carpel is like this. Gynoecium or pistil or carpel. It consists of ovary, style, stigma, here flower calyx, pedicel, corolla, androecium. At the time of fertilization or after fertilization, all these parts wither, fall off, drop off, except some exceptions are there, like a calyx found in the fruits, like that. When fertilization is over, the style and stigma also wither off, fall off. What is present in a flower? In a flower, fertilized ovary is present. And this ovary now develops into fruit. Inside the ovary, this is the ovule, which is developed into seed. So angiosperma, sperma, seeds are angios, covered, concealed. So that's why in angiosperms, seeds are always found inside the fruits. So when seed is developed into, when a ovule is developed into seed, automatically ovary is developed into fruit. So seed formation and fruit formation is simultaneous. In angiosperms, after fertilization, ovary formation into ovary development into fruit, ovary develops into fruit, ovule develops into seed. Both these processes are simultaneous. So simultaneously, ovary develop into a fruit and ovule develop into a seed. So seeds are present inside the fruit. Now A fruit is formed from a ripened ovary or fertilized ovary. If a fruit is formed from a ripened ovary or fertilized ovary, such a fruit is called true fruit. If a fruit is formed, if a fruit is formed from a ripened ovary or such a fruit is called true fruit. What is a true fruit? A true fruit is that fruit when a fruit is formed directly from the ovary or when a ovary develops into a fruit. Now, after understanding this concept, when our scientists differed various fruits, they identified that in this universe, there are some plants where fruits are formed, not only ovary, some other parts of the flowers are involved in the formation of fruit. So, only ovaries are responsible for the formation of fruits, are called true fruits. So, here, let us see types of fruits. True fruit. This is the statement. If a fruit is directly developed from the ovary. So here directly ovary develops into fruit after fertilization. If a fruit is developed along with the ovary, some other parts of a flower is involved. It's called false fruit. What is a false fruit? Along with ovary, only ovary is involved in the formation of fruit. In fruit formation, what is a false fruit? Ovary along with ovary, along with ovary, some other parts of the flower, some other parts of the flower are involved in the fruit formation. Along with the ovary, some other parts are. So ovary plus some other parts. Along with ovary, some other parts of the flower are involved in fruit formation. Fruit formation. Such a fruit is called false fruit. The difference between these two is only ovary plus some other parts. Sometimes some other fruits we have identified. which are called parthenocarpic fruits. Partheno. Parthenocarpic, CARPIC. Parthenocarpic fruit is that fruit which is formed without fertilization. So a fruit formed without fertilization, or when a fruit is formed without fertilization, or if a fruit is formed without fertilization, such fruits are called parthenocarpic fruits. So there is no fertilization. So end product of the fertilization, that is seed, is absent. So these are called seedless fruits. What are seedless fruits? Fruit is there. So ovary is becoming ripened and becomes fruit. But inside there is no fertilization. So fertilization means ovule should be there. Inside the ovule, fertilization will be taking place. Formation of zygote syngamy, formation of endosperm triple fusion. So there is no fertilization at all. When there is no fertilization at all, we are not expecting any seed in that. But normal fruit development is possible. Fruits are formed without fertilization. It means fruits are formed without seeds. Such fruits are called seedless fruits, parthenocarpic fruits. Example, bananas, best example. So seedless fruits, how are these seedless fruits or parthenocarpic fruits are possible? Parthenocarpic fruits are possible by inducing means by giving some hormones, plant hormones like auxins. So artificially we are going to produce seedless fruits for our consumption, for our convenience, for our use. So here what we are doing, whenever a flower is there, to that flower, before fertilization, we are giving auxins or hormones. Whenever auxins are given to a flower, to its ovary, in this ovary, by the auxin concentration inhibits the development of ovule. So more auxin concentration in a ovary. If auxin concentration is more in the ovary, the auxin concentration inhibits the production of ovules. So ovule will not produce. Because of this auxin, without ovule, the natural process of fruit is not stopped. It is not going to inhibit formation of fruits. Ovary directly becomes fruit, but inside ovule is absent. So seeds are absent. So auxin concentration inhibits ovule formation and it promotes parthenocarpic fruit development. Auxin concentration promotes parthenocarpic fruit development. Now sir, let us see this again. Types of fruits. Generally almost all the fruits which are having a structure, ovary develop into fruit. So what is happening here? Ovary wall of the ovary. This ovary wall develops into fruit wall. So ovary, wall of the ovary or wall of ovary develops into fruit wall. This fruit wall is called pericarp. Wall of the ovary develops into fruit wall. So when a ovary is there, we will call ovary. Inside the ovary, ovarian cavity, inside the cavity, ovules. And when fertilization, seeds and fruits. But here, wall of the ovary becomes wall, it is called pericarp. So when a fruit is developed from the ovary, it is having pericarp. Inside, it is having seeds, generally mango, maybe one seed or many seeds. Examples of fruits. True fruit. Okay. True fruit. Mango. We can give so many examples. What is a false fruit? Along with the ovary, some other parts of the flower. Then question comes, what are those some other parts along with the ovary? In which plants? In which fruits? What are those fruits which are developed by this process? Involvement of some other parts, or which fruit is called false fruit? Here, along with the ovary, in some, this is called thalamus. This is called pedicel of the flower, calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. We remember this. So whenever they fall off, calyx, corolla fall off, androecium withered fall off, style and stigma withered fall off. Whenever this ovary is becoming into fruit, this thalamus region, thalamus is the place on which various floral parts are attached, found. Or thalamus is the region which is the end of the pedicel. Or thalamus is also called receptacle. Receptacle means it receives various floral parts, calyx, corolla, androecium, gynoecium. In some fruits, this thalamus, it increases. It involves in the formation of fruit. When thalamus is involved in the formation of fruit, for example, apple, example, strawberry, example, cashew nut. In the NCERT books, my dear students, they have given compulsorily how to follow those examples. After that, you can follow some other examples from various available sources. This is compulsory. Apple is a false fruit. Strawberry is a false fruit. Cashew nut is a false fruit. Why? In these three fruits, along with the ovary, some other parts like thalamus is involved in the formation of some other example, fig, anjura, ficus. In this, so many examples we can cite. This is compulsory, these three examples. So when a fruit is formed along with the ovary, some other parts like thalamus, for example, apple. When you are able to cut an apple, you are able to see here seeds are present. This part is called thalamus that extends. This is called actual ovary. Ovary, true fruit. This total edible part is called thalamus. Edible. Thalamus. Edible. So, this is the section, longitudinal section of a apple. Shows this part we are eating. And most of the small children, in most of the cases, they will remove this part. It looks hard. So real fruit, which is called true fruit in the form of ovary, they will discard it, they will cut and separate it out. They will eat fleshy thalamus. Fleshy thalamus. Fleshy thalamus is edible. So false fruit and true fruit. When only ovary is involved in the formation of fruit, true fruit, along with the other than ovary. It means here we are not going to separate ovary. Ovary is also there. Ovary plus some other parts are involved in the formation. A parthenocarpic fruit is that fruit which is without fertilization. When a fruit is formed without fertilization, they are not having seeds, seedless fruit. It is because of auxins. Now, types of fruits based upon the nature of pericarp. Now, my dear students, neat question. Fruits are classified into these two types based on. Fruits are classified into two types based on involvement of ovary or not involvement of ovary, are based on the nature of development of a fruit. When a fruit is developed along with the ovary, only ovary or along with the ovary some other parts. Now a question comes. So many questions are there, my dear students. Our time may not permit to teach all those. Types of fruits are classified into three types based on another question. Here, based on fertilized, not fertilized. Here they were, after fertilization they were formed. Without fertilization, they are formed. Now, based upon the nature of pericarp, fruits are of various types. Let us see. Types of fruits. Okay, right. Fleshy fruits. Types of fruits. Here the concept is based on the nature or structure of pericarp. What is pericarp? Pericarp is the wall of the fruit. Once upon a time it is the wall of the ovary. Wall of the ovary gradually transforms, changes into wall of the fruit. That wall is termed as pericarp. This pericarp, based upon its nature, fleshy fruits or dry fruits. So here, let us see what is meant by this fleshy fruit or what is meant by this dry fruit. Again, they were characterized, again they were classified based upon their conditions, several other conditions. Fleshy fruits. A fleshy fruit is that in this pericarp, what is pericarp here? Pericarp is the wall of the fruit. In this pericarp, fruit wall becomes fleshy. Fleshy means by storing food material or by bulging, by swallowing. and shows three types of layers. So pericarp becomes fleshy and produces three types of layers in general. So whenever a fruit is having a pericarp and it is having three types of layers, those three types of layers are outermost epicarp, middle mesocarp, inner endocarp. Whenever a fruit is able to show these three distinct layers in it, epicarp, mesocarp and endocarp. For example, the best example we can see, if we see any orange, if we see the orange, the uppermost that cover wall is called epicarp. When we remove it, when we press some volatile substances, oil will come, pungent smell, that is epicarp. Mesocarp, when we open the orange, this upper part, white paper-like structure in the form of threads, paper-like, a thready thin layer is present, which is called mesocarp. And inside whatever we are eating, juice having seeds, that is called endocarp. Like that, if we take mango, the uppermost part, the skin of the mango fruit is called epicarp. In some cases we can eat, it is edible. In some mangoes it is not edible because of its bitter taste. We'll remove it. Once the upper layer is removed, that epicarp is removed, mesocarp. In a mango, mesocarp is edible. We are able to eat. Inside the mango, a seed is there, endocarp, which is stony hard. We are not going to eat. Like that. So whenever a fruit having a wall pericarp, that pericarp is again showing three distinct layers, different layers, epicarp, mesocarp, endocarp. So different fruits, their structure, their nature differs. So various fruits. In some we can eat endocarp, in some we cannot eat endocarp. In some we can eat mesocarp, in some we cannot eat mesocarp. In some we can eat we cannot eat epicarp in many. So like that, fleshy fruits based on the nature of pericarp. Fleshy. Examples of these fleshy fruits. Examples. They have given guava. They have given orange, mango, or tomato. So many. So whichever fruit is edible and having some fleshiness, something to eat, is called fleshy fruits. On the other side, dry fruits. When the pericarp of these fruits is not divisible into three layers, it is not storing any food and it is not fleshy, but instead of fleshy, it is dry. Such fruits are called dry fruits. Pericarp is not showing the three layers or becomes dry. Such fruits are called dry fruits. You can see almost all the fruits starting from wheat, maize, rice, groundnut, all this comes under dry fruits. Now, dry fruits again classified into dehiscent and indehiscent. So what is this? When a fruit becomes dry, one day it will break, which is called dehiscence, and it will liberate the seeds. So in this universe, there are so many seeds, so many fruits, which after becoming dry, they will break and liberate the seeds, which are called dry dehiscent fruits. For example, lady's finger, bendi, Abelmoschus esculentus. If we take this bendi, if we keep on the under the some sunlight for several days, this becomes dry. One day it will break to liberate the seeds. Such fruits are called dry dehiscent fruits. And some other fruits are there. They also comes under dry fruits, but they never break and never release the seeds. It is human nature. We have to break them in the crushers or the mills. We have to break them and liberate the seeds. We will see further classification of dry fruits, that is dry dehiscent and dry indehiscent, in the coming classes. Thoroughly prepare this part in the 36th page, that is seed. We will see after these fruits, we will see the adaptations of seed. Then we will go to viability of the seeds. Lastly, apomixis and polyembryony. With this, we are going to complete this complete unit, sexual reproduction. All the best.